Hey, what's going on? Nick Unsworth with Life on Fire TV, and I'm very fired up. I've got a special guest, my main man, Steve Olsher. Bam! Steve Olsher, aka Mr. Bold. And Steve is a New York Times best-selling author and author of What is Your What?
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 What? Exactly. What? Yeah.
What?
True. What?
Hey, what's going on? Nick Unsworth here, and I'm a kick-ass business coach, and I'm on an absolute mission to help you find your purpose in life, to help you love what you do for work every single day, to help you be the rock star that you are meant to be, to make more money than you ever thought was possible, and to have more time freedom so you can actually enjoy the life that you're living. I'm here to help you set your life on fire.
All right, so we are back, and I'm excited. What?
What?
But I'm excited to have you on the show because
Thanks,
you've just been up to some big things. And for those of you that don't know, Steve is also the proud owner of liquor.com.
It is true. So if you like to drink, mixology, cocktail culture, check out liquor.com.
Now, how did you go about getting liquor.com? Like,
That's a funny story, dude.
Yeah.
So I've actually been online since '93. Were you born in '93?
Just barely.
Just barely, yeah, great. So, so started on CompuServe's Electronic Mall, really took to the internet really early, built up a fully functional e-commerce site back at the time when e-commerce sites didn't really
Was
exist.
it still making the noise like the...
Dude,
like
all right,
that?
check this out. So, ladies, this is where you want to pause and just go like about a minute or two down the line here, sorry. But like, yes, because it was at the point where like, if I wanted to see, you know, like a lady online kind of thing, it was so slow because of the, you know, the 9800 baud or whatever it was. Like I got to the point, I'm not kidding you, I got to the point where like by her eyebrows, I could tell if I wanted to see more. Because like it would take like 7 minutes to get like, you know, yet so yeah. But that company ended up becoming liquor.com, which was the domain that I got in 98. Dang. So 98, I picked up that domain.
One of the OGs online.
Want to guess what I paid for it?
Yeah, what'd you pay?
No, that's the question. Do you want to guess? So,
yeah.
Oh, you want to guess? Yes. No?
I'll guess $1,000.
Wow. I wish it was $1,000. I overpaid evidently, but I actually bought bourbon.com and liquor.com at the same time for $7,500.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang, $7,500. I mean, I was just going way back at that time, inflation and everything.
When we first started, it was at the point where like literally you could grab anything.
Yeah.
And we were in the liquor world at that point already, and I was telling my guy, I was like, we got to get rum.com, we got to get vodka.com, we got to get tequila. Let's just like grab them all.
Squatting
and
all the domains.
And we could have, but he was like, no, you don't need it. Just get one for your company, and we'll do like another just kind of vanity, whatever, It's like, really, man? You know, and anyway, long story short, that was a long time ago, but so liquor.com in 98, and I still own it to this day.
And so how did you go, so from liquor.com, like bring me up to speed into you know, creating Reinvention Radio. And I mean, you've been a pioneer in just everything from podcasting to new media. And that's what's really cool about today is where Steve's going to be dropping a lot of knowledge about how to increase your influence and how to leverage new technology and new media from someone that's one of the OGs.
OG.
So, but take me from the liquor.com moving up to, you know, up to today. Like, what were some of those steps that, you know, bring me into the 21st century?
Sure. I mean, look, I personify reinvention, which is why my work focuses on reinvention, because I came from the music business, DJ'd, owned my own nightclub, catalogs, .coms, etc. And so, I mean, I think at one point, I'll admit it, I was even selling speakers out of the back of a van. You know what I mean? So it's like, I was that guy, Eric. That was me. But, you know, it's like, if push came to shove and I needed to put bread on the table and keep the lights on, you know, just did whatever it took. Yeah. But that led to all sorts of different endeavors. But like I said, around 98, 2000, really started getting into the online world. And I knew from the get-go. I mean, I was like, I remember the first time I was online. And like my tech guy was like, okay, we're on the internet.
We're live.
And I was like, okay, like, where do you go? Like, what do you do kind of thing? And it's just so funny how like things have technology has advanced so much since then. But it's, it's really a matter of my sharing that path, sharing that knowledge with others who really want to get out of that 9-to-5 grind, or maybe have just gotten out of that 9-to-5 grind and are really looking to figure out, how to elevate their game.
Yeah.
And so the podcast, the live streaming, all of that stuff that we do, it's just various platforms to share the message of basically, once you figure out what your what is, right? I mean, that is the question, and it's all about understanding your core gift, the vehicle you use to share that gift, and then the people that you're most compelled to serve.
Yeah.
If you can answer those 3 questions, then you can answer the question, what is your what? And then it's a function of then sharing that gift with those who need you most, right? And that's where new media comes in, because literally anyone can get into the game now. And that's a fairly new phenomenon. I mean, the gatekeeper has literally been like assassinated, right? I mean, think about it, right? TV.
It's a bad time for gatekeepers.
I mean, if you wanted to be on TV, it was like, there was, like old men, in suits behind desks who decided what would air, when it would air, how it would air, and who would be on it.
Yeah.
So now it's like, we don't need the gatekeeper.
It's like anyone with a phone can be online, can make something of themselves, and and so out of all the new media that's out there, I'd love for you to share just what you're personally using to share your message about what is your what and how to reinvent.
Yeah.
But I'd love for you to break down the platforms that you use and why.
So we use at this point a few different platforms in the new media space. We use podcasting, but we do it a little bit differently, because we actually first leverage internet radio. Okay. So we broadcast out of an actual radio station.
I thought that was cool when I was on the show.
In
a real,
in a real studio,
right? Earmuffs and everything.
Earmuffs and the whole nine. And thank you again for coming on, because you were really, that was great,
That was
man.
a blast.
So we do it actually at a radio station, and I did it that way because, kind of the double-edged sword of this whole new media world, and really just sort of leveling that barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Is that, it's easy for anyone to get in the game, which is cool. But it also means that anyone can get in the game. Yeah. So, if you listen to some of the podcasts out there, or live streaming or whatever, some of the quality is not real good, right? And so when we set out to do the show, I knew that we needed quality to be solid. So we do it from the radio station, internet radio, so broadcast
so
live.
quality-wise, that's going to get you basically your audio quality. That's
Yeah, exactly. So it sounds great, and then we repurpose that as a podcast. So we get the bump when it's live, and then we get the bump when we throw it out as well.
That's cool. So you're tapping into the terrestrial radio, or actually internet radio.
I did terrestrial radio before.
Oh, okay.
And I was in Chicago and New York and Phoenix, so I was on, the show was syndicated. But in this iteration now, when we launched it back in 2015 again, because I launched it in 2009, put it on hiatus and launched it again, decided, you know what? It just doesn't make sense. It's just not, the listeners just aren't there. I mean, it's push versus pull, right? I mean, and you know all about
Yeah, and so basically, using that radio studio to then put it to online radio to get some audience, and then you take that content and then syndicate that to iTunes.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. And we even take it a step further sometimes. So we will use Blab, which I'm a big fan of, blab.im.
I'd love for you to break Blab down.
Break Blab down. So it's so funny, because there are a lot of people who are now starting to talk about it, but still a lot of people don't know about it.
Yeah.
So we've had people on the show who haven't ever been on Blab before, and I just learned a new term, and it's called a blurgin. So it's like a Blab virgin, right? Somebody who hasn't been on Blab before. And anyway, long story short, it's super cool and super easy to use. So we will literally live stream while we're doing the show, and then my business partner, Alex Mandozian, and I do our own show together that's not Reinvention Radio.
Okay.
Ours is Push Button Influence, and we do that only on Blab as our primary platform. That's cool. Then we take that and repurpose that as both a video podcast and an audio podcast.
Nice. And so the main thing behind Blab, why you like it, what would you say, like, what separates Blab from like Google Hangout or just other live streaming, or even Periscope?
Yeah, and they all have their, all of the different platforms have their own sort of, code of conduct, right? And their own nuances and their own audience, for that matter. And so if you know who your people are that you're most compelled to serve, you'll begin figuring out where they gather. Yeah. So I like Blab because for us, it gives us an opportunity. We have found that our people want to interact. They want to be more engaged with what we're doing. So Periscope is great, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's like you tap the screen, you give them hearts. Okay, cool. And then if you have something to say, you say it, but then if I'm the broadcaster, like I can't follow that.
It's a zip
like
vibe,
it's a zip,
yeah.
like the chat roll is just, and so if somebody asks you a question and you answer that question, if somebody asks you a question while you're answering that question, you just can't keep up. Yeah. So I don't think it's very user friendly, but I can see why people like it. But it's still kind of one
what
way.
What could be better than getting a whole bunch of hearts? I mean,
right.
It just go to bed at night like, I got 200 hearts.
I got lots of hearts, which is actually kind of the interesting thing. Our mutual friend, Johnny Lee Dumas, was on Blab with us on our show with Alex. And they have something called props on Blab, which is like if you click the screen, there's like these two little hands, it's like applause.
Yeah.
So it keeps kind of this meter going. He got up to 125,000 because he just kept pimping it like the whole time, right? And it's funny though because like in Periscope, those hearts actually go with you, so they like mean something.
Yeah.
On Blab, it doesn't mean anything. Yeah. It's like it just okay, great, you got that many.
It just feels good.
It just feels good. But I like the town hall aspect of Blab because you have 4 squares, and so when Alex and I do our show together, so we've got 1 square is me, 1 square is him. 1 square is our guest, and so we've got that open 4th square. Cool. So you can literally tap on people and bring them in, and then of course there's chat, and it's just very interactive, but I like it better than Google, Hangouts, because there is a severe latency issue with Google Hangouts, which basically means like, so it's like your mouth is moving. It's like a
really high quality kung fu movie.
Exactly. So it's as much as you don't want it to be distracting, it's still distracting when you're looking at somebody and like
you're like, I can hear what they're saying, but their mouth is.
And you would think with all of the money that Google has, they could have figured that shit out,
right?
But I don't know if they just got lazy and they're like, it's just like one of those like awful little stepchildren that they were like, damn it, we can't really get him out of the house. He's not old enough. He's not 18, right? So we still have to feed him.
Like Google
sort of, right? Exactly. It's like Google's like, it was $1 billion. 5 billion. So I don't understand why they haven't ever fixed that, but that's why I like Blab. And also, you can do it on your mobile phone.
That's cool.
So it's mobile friendly. It's of course desktop friendly as well, laptop friendly. I just think it's a really sweet platform, and it's very cool too because like iTunes, people come there looking for programming.
That's good. Yeah.
So oftentimes you have to drive people to something to get an audience.
It's like Snapchat. You cannot be discovered on Snapchat.
I don't even know how that damn thing works. That's why I looked at it once and I was like, I can't find anybody. I don't even know what to do.
It's like there is no way. There's no SEO. There's no way to be found. So you have to drive your own people to it.
Right.
But to your point about Blab, what's nice is that people are natively they're in that environment. They're looking for content.
Yeah.
So basically, what you're saying is, that just you can be discovered on Blab. You can grow your audience, build up your community on Blab. So
the other thing that's pretty cool, and I'm not, I'm not getting paid by Blab by any stretch. I just like the platform. But one of the things that is super cool is like if you record it, then like within minutes, they email you an audio file.
That's awesome.
And a video file. So it's like, bam, there's your MP3, there's your MP4, done.
It's like, remember GoToWebinar? You've got to download the recording, then you've got to convert it, then download it.
It's such a process.
And then that file would rarely actually work embedding it to you're uploading it to YouTube or anywhere else. It was just always a disaster.
And actually you talk about, that's kind of an interesting segue into like simulcasting.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of doing something once like you are.
Yep.
And syndicating, that's one way, but then there's also...
It's like we're doing right now. What do we got there? Facebook?
Right.
Facebook Live, what up?
Whoop, whoop. But then there's also simulcasting, right? So like, what Erica's doing and broadcasting this at the same
Facebook
time.
Live, we don't have hearts.
I don't know what you have there.
Hearts.
Yeah, no. What
likes.
is Facebook Live exactly? I just like it because that's the other thing is it's like this push. It's still that push, right? And so I'm a big fan, and I believe that the future is. The writing's on the wall. It's totally coming to pull. 100% to pull. When you look at network television, who's watching network television? The people that are 45 and up. Kids aren't watching it. They're not watching it. Those in that demographic of 18 to 45, they're not watching, for the most part, traditional television.
Yeah, they're not watching the CBS Evening News.
right?
They're getting it. It's like the media and the news is coming to them in other forms of social media.
I mean, think about it, right? Because like back in the day, if you were on like the Today Show, that was a big deal. You know, like if you had a book to pimp, or, you know, whatever, you come on there, you talk about your book, you could sell like 5,000 or 6,000 books, man, from that appearance.
Yeah.
Now, if you move 400 to 500 copies, it's a lot. But you go on a podcast like, you know, Lewis Howes and the School of Greatness, or Chalene Johnson, or, you know, some of those, you know, social media, you know, type icons in podcasting, you know, those powerful podcasters, you can move a lot of units, because I strongly believe, now I'm not saying email marketing is dead, but I know for a fact that 10,000 email subscribers is not nearly as valuable as 500 engaged audience members. It's there's no comparisons. It's 20x all day long.
Yeah. It's wild how that, you know, deliverability keeps getting worse, open rates keep going down.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's just this need to create community, you know, whether it's leveraging Blab and all these other different, you know, podcasting, Blab, and creating content. So what would you say for someone that, you know, let's just say someone's got their what? They got really clear on what their gifts are, what their message is, and they want to get it out there. It's like, you know, of all the different things that they can do, where would you have them spend their focus? Like, how would you put it all together, you know, to create the most amount of influence?
Yeah, see, and it's interesting because it kind of really goes back to the conversation around, like, who are the people that you're most compelled to serve? Oftentimes, those people aren't where you think they are. I mean, the first thing that I suggest anybody, forget about Blab or podcasting or YouTube or, you know, Viva, I mean, what Snapchat, forget about all that until you really understand where those people are and how they like to be served. Because some people might like audio, some might like video, some might like the written word. So until you really get a chance to research and talk with them and be crystal clear on who you are and how you're most naturally wired to excel, then it's just, you just chase it. You know, you're just chasing all of these opportunities, and you could, I mean, it's the rabbit hole, man. You know, you get on Facebook, you're like, I just want to, you know, see how Nick's doing, and all of a sudden I'm like, it's 7 p.m. You know, it's like, how did I, right? Where did my day go? So it's real easy to become enamored with what you see other people doing, and, you know, oh, this guy's got 5 million views on his, you know, on his video, you know, whatever. And so it's like, you just got to run your own race, you know? And so the honest truth is, first you got to become clear on what your what is. Once you're clear on what that is, then you got to become familiar with the landscape, right? Like, as a whole. And find people that you can, like, really go, wow, I like what they're doing, and see their different format, right? Like, what format are they using? How are they leveraging that medium? And once you have enough of that, then and only then should you even contemplate picking a primary platform. And I believe that that's what you should do for at least a year, is find one platform and really crush that platform before you go elsewhere.
Yeah, I think a lot of our clients, we call it modeling, just to like you said, you're doing your research and you're getting very clear on, you know, who has a lifestyle that you want to have, and who has a business model that, you know, and it's like, by seeing what they're doing some recon, and then taking it, reverse engineering it, and then coming out with your game plan, you know, and being very deliberate as to where you're going to focus. Because it's like, if you spread yourself too thin, then no one's going to find you anyway. So, but
that's the thing too, is do you want 5 million people to watch your video, or do you want 500 of the right people, right, to watch your video? And so that'll
also do something with it.
Well, and then it also becomes like, what's the goal? What's the objective? If you want to be a celebrity, that's one thing. But if you really want to help people and serve them in a meaningful way, then honestly, the numbers they just don't carry as much weight.
And so how about, you know, we got a good idea of everything from getting clear on your what, you know, your gifts and passions, all the way to new media, getting out there, you know, to basically grow your audience for your message. But what about as far as other ways to build up influence. You know, I know that you've got push button influence, and
Yeah.
I'd love to hear just about some of the trainings you have coming up, what's exciting for you, and how someone could take their message go further with some of the things that you've got going on.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because it's like when you stand in front of the pantry and you try to find that, you know, that can of soup or whatever it is, and you can stand there for like 10 minutes and like not find it, and someone else comes in and they just go like, dude, here's your can of soup, right? It's like the word influence.
Yeah.
You know, now that you've heard it, you know, and this may not have even been a word that you were really, now you're going to see it everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like everyone is talking about influence because it's insane what people are doing. I mean, when you look at like KingBach, you know, who's a viner, 15 billion loops
Dang.
on his vines. It's just like there's crazy, crazy numbers. And again, you don't got to get caught up in the numbers, but you do have to become clear on the fact that, you know, there is a pretty substantial opportunity there if you do it right. So what does influence look like? Well, influence looks like, first and foremost, you start figuring out what grade you're in. So I love the expression, to a second grader, a fifth grader is a god. You know?
Yeah.
And it's true, man, because it's like, you know, you have something that can help people who are behind you, right? And so you really got to understand where you are right now and create for those people. That's how you become an influencer. Not trying to aspire to hit here, but build it up behind you. Those people who really could benefit from your taking that path and just saying, look, this is exactly the way to go. And so influence to me isn't about getting people to be able to do something that you want them to do.
Yeah.
It's really about having their attention. That to me is true influence. If you are an influencer, it means that you have the attention of someone.
Eyeball attention.
Yep, eyeball,
Or
earball,
ear,
earwax,
yeah.
right? Whatever. Yeah. So lots of different ways, of course, to be an influencer. But I think that again boils down to understanding what your options are. You know, there's a lot of people who don't want to do video. You know, they don't want to be in front of the camera. So what can you do? Well, of course, there's, you know, podcasts like we've been talking about. There's also live audio.
Sure.
Zcast. I don't know if you've heard of Zcast, but it's kind of cool. It's like kind of like Blab for audio.
Okay.
So literally, it's almost like radio, really, when you come right down to it. But it's a new platform that people are using for audio. So like, there's those sort of platforms. There's of course Blog Talk Radio, and it's just a matter of trying some different things out and then committing to whatever that platform might be. You may actually find that, you know, social media is your bag. You know, like maybe you just want to be like, I've got a friend who does nothing but Instagram, and that's her thing, and she does super, super, super well on that. But she leaves everything else alone. So for her, becoming an influencer was a byproduct of really honing in on that one medium, and then having people find her, because that's where it becomes really interesting. Is the more that you get out there, the more value that you add, then the more people gravitate towards you. And as opposed to you going out and trying to really, like, you know, hammer people over the head and pull them in, they find what they need when you give them what you have.
That's good. So I mean, you're basically just taking it, again, that kind of comes back to your message and your gifts, because it's like once you've got that honed in, and then you're taking that and you're helping people that are a couple steps behind you, then that's where the influence is created. So I think that's definitely cool. Makes sense. So what about, so for next steps? So if someone were to, you know, where to find you, I'd love for you to share just about, you know, how do they find you online? So with all this new media, where's the favorite place that they can connect with you?
Alex Mendozian and I, my business partner, we have been spending a lot of time the last year creating this program called Push Button Influence. And so that would be a great place to start. I mean, I just shared with you some of the things that we're doing there. For instance, we actually have a giveaway of what we're calling the ultimate directory of powerful podcasters, big time bloggers, and social media stars. So it's basically 241 people who can make you famous at the push of a button, right? So it's their name, their bio, their social media stats, and even their email address, social security number, exactly.
Throw that in there.
Right, so you can get, you know, in contact with those people, because the reality is that there are influencers who can literally push a button.
What's interesting
and make
that
some really
that's
interesting
becoming
things
a whole
happen.
category. I mean, there's companies that are popping up that influencer marketing is their thing, where they'll, everything from paying for, posts on Instagram to all the different social accounts, but it's turning it to its own sub-industry. And it's kind of interesting how PR is completely shifting and changing, where PR has always been, the Today Show and Good Morning America and papers, but all that shifting, just like you said, that the influence that they have to actually move product or sell books is very different, where it's actually the podcast and, influencers on Instagram,
Right.
You don't need a big name celebrity to represent, a shirt anymore. It's like you find the person on Instagram that has 5 million followers,
And there are some people that are making ridiculous money with that, but I don't want the focus to be, of course, on that money so much as it's just serving and entertaining or educating or whatever it might be. But I will say that the new media world has really done us all a huge favor from the standpoint of, if you can picture like the pyramid, right? I mean, it's like the whole thing has been tipped. Everything is shifting.
Yeah.
Because like before, if you wanted to, like, let's say, if you wanted to get onto the Today Show, or if you wanted to get a high-paying speaking gig, or if you wanted to get a book deal or whatever it might be, you would already have to be at that level, right, to get those sort of things.
Yeah.
Now you can get in the game, create your own tribe, create your own following, and then, oh, looky, now all of a sudden, people are coming at you and they're going, here's the book deal, here are the speaking gigs, and so on.
Yeah.
And so we are in it's as hard as it is to believe, it's still very much the embryonic stages of this whole new media push. The time to get into it is now.
Right.
Because if you wait a year, it's like Facebook in 2005. This is the same thing in that world, because, think about Wi-Fi, right? What's going on with the cars? Cars are all getting Wi-Fi. When the cars get Wi-Fi, podcasting and other channels, it's going to be the same thing as it is with AM and FM. And we know how much time people spend on the cars. Even if the autonomous cars, come to be even more so, because then you don't have to drive. Now you can just really sit there and just do whatever you want to do. Yeah. But, the point being that this is the time. I mean, on that, on that sort of that curve, if you will. Yeah. I mean, we're still like
time
here.
To get in. It's like, get in, get your message clear, and start building, start building your audience. And it's just interesting, out of all the different activities on how to grow a business online, everything is pointing back to audience. That is, and the great thing is that it doesn't matter who you are. It's like, no matter who you are, you're going to attract people. You can build your own tribe. So like any insecurities or anything, it's like, no matter who you are, you're going to attract people that are like you, and you can build up your own audience, your own tribe. And you can monetize with other people's products. You can monetize with your own products. But so back to the influence, the push button influence. You said that it's a list of 241 influencers, and is that a freebie? It's
a freebie, yeah. Because we want people to be able to get into the game as quickly as they possibly can, right?
Okay.
So another thing that we're doing is we're actually giving you the opportunity to get a fully blown Web 2.0 influencer authority type website.
Okay.
That will be a part of this as well, but that's something that we don't have to go into too much detail on. But our purpose for doing this is to really help people understand how to get into this world. Cool. And stop this whole process of guesswork about what to do,
where you get
and
started,
how to do it,
being
and where
overwhelmed, and
because it can be super over. There's so many options, and reality is that if you just understood what the landscape looks like, and you start getting into that world a little bit and see what they're doing and how they're doing it, it then opens your mind up to, oh wow, I don't want to do that, but I can do that. And that's part of the process too, is not only is it seeing how other people are doing it, and then deciding you want to do that too, but it's also seeing how people are doing it and deciding you don't want to do that, right? Eliminating,
yeah. And so, what would be the way that they can get to get access to that, or what's the link for that?
Yeah, so
you can put it in the chat, or you can.
Why don't we just put it in? We'll just put it there, and I think that's probably the best way, because that way people won't, have to type it out. It's probably the best way to do it.
So basically, just go into the comments, and in the description we'll have the link for this.
Yeah.
And then also, if they want to get in touch with you online, what's the best place?
So a couple of different ways to do it, right? First and foremost, check out Reinvention Radio, right,
Cool.
which is my show, iTunes, Stitcher, that whole nine. And listen to a couple of episodes because it's not really for everyone. So if you still like me after you listen to an episode or two, then
It's bold. That's why they call him Mr.
right?
Bold.
Then someone once called me the Howard Stern of personal development. I kind of like that in sort of ways, but check that out. If that resonates with you, cool. SteveOlsher.com. But we can give people the free book too. So best way to grab a free copy of that is just whatisyourwhat.com/free. So whatisyourwhat.com/free.
I love it. Well, dude, awesome hanging. Thank you for all the nuggets of wisdom. Baby. Mr. Bold. Boom.
I'm here to help you set your life on fire.